What's up, guys? It's Dutch with ProdKult, and welcome to ProdKult Academy. For the past 4 years, we've been making 6 figures a year selling beats and loop packs. On this channel, we're breaking down exactly how we did it, so you can turn your passion into a full-time income just like we did. From production tutorials to real business moves, this channel is your new blueprint to going full-time as a music producer. Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to start with the beat tutorial. Some of you may know them, some of you may not, but if you're into post-punk or darkwave, you probably have. And even if you haven't, you may have heard them on TikTok. They're one of my personal favorite bands of all time. I have no idea what they're ever saying, but I love it. So without further ado, this is how you make a post-punk Molchat Doma type beat. Let's get into it. So to start, I always use just a really simple drum pattern. I like to use this plugin called Satala. It's a very simple drum machine plugin. I think it's actually free. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it is free. I've had it for so long that I have no clue. And for this kind of stuff, you got to use Lindrum sounds typically. It's just one of the better drum machines that a lot of people use. Molchat, I know, use it quite a bit. So yeah, you could go to Splice. I have a bunch of Lindrum sounds on my Splice packs, and I'm about to drop another one just this, I think in September, early September, my new pack is dropping, which is Post Punk 4. I have a bunch of splice packs out, so if you haven't checked them out, definitely go check them out. So with these types of beats, I typically just do a simple kick snare pattern, and then I'll start with the bass line. So I'll show you guys how I do that. If you want the best post-punk bass of all time, a Rickenbacker. It's a little bit expensive. You don't really need this. I have another bass that I could show you guys another time. It's just an old Fender. Paid like $500 for that one when I was like 12 years old or something. This one's a lot more expensive. This was a few grand, so you don't need this, but this is good to have. Here's the bass line that I played for the verse. And this is what that sounds like now. And then for the chorus, I switched up the bass a little bit. It goes like this. And this is what that sounds like with the drums. And now that's it for the bass. We're going to move on to the guitar. So for this first part, I use my Fender Jaguar, but any guitar with single coil pickups like this would do the trick. Most Fender, Strats, Tellies, other Jaguars, and so many other brands use single coils. The only thing that I sometimes don't like about single coils is they're a little bit noisy sometimes. So like on one of my Strats, I bought like the noiseless single coil pickups because I get a little bit annoyed of like the humming. So I prefer using this one back here because it's got the humbucker pickups. So here's the main riff for the verse. And as for the effects that I used on this main verse part, I'm using all guitar pedals for this one, no plugins really. So I'm using a Boss Super Chorus and a Boss Flanger. They're super classic, cheap. They're like $100 each, I think. If you're going for just like classic, like simple effects, Boss is a good way to start. I got a lot of their stuff at first when I was first getting into guitar pedals. The reason I got these two were because I found out that Robert Smith from The Cure, who is like my absolute goat, he uses a lot of Boss pedals. So I got these when I first got into guitar pedals, and I still use them almost every day. So yeah, Boss pedals are the way to go if you're just getting started into the pedal world. And I also use this reverb. It's a very interesting one. It's a company called Old Blood Noise Endeavors, and they did a collab with the group called Churches. They're kind of like a synth pop band, and this one's called Screen Violence. It's a pretty expensive one. It's a very experimental pedal. I think they made it for like more like synth stuff, but I use the reverb on it all the time because it's a really cool like stereo reverb. I don't usually use the distortion on it, but it's a really cool like distortion reverb, I guess. It's like modulation, reverb, distortion. It's like just a load of weird stuff. It's a really cool pedal though. One of my favorite companies is Old Blood Noise Endeavors, so if you're already in the pedal world, then they're a great company to get into if you're looking for some more unique stuff. So yeah, that's it for the main guitar. I'm going to put this away and take out my Les Paul. So if you're going for the classic Molchat Doma guitar tone, I would definitely suggest a guitar like this with the humbuckers. This is a Gibson Les Paul. If you have the budget for it, Gibson is probably your best bet, like a Gibson SG, Gibson Les Paul, Gibson Firebird, any kind of Gibson that has the classic Gibson humbucker pickups is like amazing for this kind of guitar tone. I know the guitarist of Molchat Doma, he always has some kind of guitar with humbuckers. Often I see him with Gibsons. So I definitely recommend getting a Gibson if you have the budget. But there is a lot of other options out there for guitars with humbuckers. They're a very widely used pickup for a lot of companies. So if you need help deciding what guitar to get, you can drop a comment below and I'll respond and give you any kind of advice that you need and walk you through some of the guitars that I've gotten that I haven't liked, because I've had tons and tons and tons of guitars that I've traded and sold and whatnot. So I know a thing or two, I guess, about guitars and what guitars suck. So I can probably help you save your money and time on bad guitars, because I've had a lot of them. So something I do a lot for these kinds of beats is I find the root note. If you don't know how to find the root note, it's pretty simplistic. The best way to do it is to just kind of trust your ear a little bit. If you just play the beat, go along your E string and just so if you see, like, that just sounds like it would be the root note. I'm not a guitar teacher, so I don't know how to explain these things in simpler terms. But yeah, you just gotta kind of trust your ear, go along the E string, or sometimes I guess the A string if you want to start the chord from the A string. But you find that root note, so in this case, it's right there. So you take your first finger and bar that, and then you take your pinky and your ring finger and then put it on the A and the D string, like so. And then you got your chord there. So what I do on a lot of these beats, and I know a lot of other post-punk and darkwave bands use this technique, it helps you a lot with just like coming up with little riffs and stuff, because if you don't know all your like scales and stuff, like a lot of people, me being one of them, I only know a couple of simple scales, but for the most part, I don't know much about music theory and whatnot. I took some guitar lessons for a while, but stopped after about a month or two. So I don't know too many scales or anything like that. So I use this technique a lot just to come up with cool little riffs, because every note in that would be part of the scale for this. So you can just play the beat and just kind of mess around with that to come up with cool little catchy riffs or whatever. So this is what I did for the second half of the verse. and this is what it sounds like now. So that's it for the verse. I'm going to show you guys what I did for the chorus now. Here's what that sounds like. So using that same bar chord that I showed you guys, this is what I do for the chorus. And then on top of that, I add this lead. And now here's what that sounds like. And for effects, it's the same thing. I just use guitar pedals for this. I haven't really been able to find good plugins to get this sound as well as I have with pedals, so I kind of just stick to pedals. And actually right now I'm working with a developer to make a plugin that is good for this stuff, so stay on the lookout for that. It should be ready like end of summer probably, maybe a little bit after that, but yeah, I will be dropping a Molchat Doma post-punk guitar pedal plugin, which is pretty exciting. It's my first plugin, so I'm pretty excited about that. We're working on reverb and a couple other ones right now as well, but that will be the first one that we drop. And we're going to be including it in our producer course that we're dropping pretty soon. If you want to sign up and pre-order the course, there's a link in the description now. Go type in your email and you'll be the first to hear about it when it does drop. So back to the pedals that I use for this one. For the reverb, I'm using the Screen Violence that I was mentioning before. And the other one, it's called Death Wobble. It's a vibrato chorus kind of pedal. And for this, I'm not using the two Boss pedals that I use for the other part. So it's just the Screen Violence and the Death Wobble. So that's it for the guitars. We're going to move on to the rest of the drums. So as of right now, this is what everything sounds like. First off, I added these hi-hats, and the hi-hats are just for the chorus. And then to give it the Molchat Doma vibe, we got these toms here. And then I added claps. And then this other tom thing right here. And then this is what all the drums sound like together. And then I added these from one of my splice packs. I think these ones are from my unreleased splice pack that's about to drop in a month or so. But I have a bunch of other sounds kind of similar to this in my other splice packs. And then I added this one as well. Some kind of percussion sound of some sort. So yeah, all together, this is what it all sounds like. So on those two little percussion sounds, I added Valhalla Vintage Verb. You can screenshot that for the settings. I think it's the same on both of them. Yeah, same on both of them. And then as far as mixing for everything else, a lot of the time for Molchat Doma type beats, I'll add a little bit of a high pass filter. And a lot of the time for toms, you can see in the EQ, it has a lot of this low end in it. So just so it doesn't get in the way of other instruments and stuff, especially like the bass line, I just kind of drop out that low end a little bit. And we can add a little bit of a high pass as well on that. Same thing with the claps, a little bit of a high pass. And for the bass line, I didn't take any of the high end out at all because for post-punk stuff, I like to have the kind of punchy high end in it. But for this guitar here, I dropped that low end out. I'm gonna add a bit of a high pass as well. And then for the chord, add a bit of a high pass. For this guitar, because you see there's a bit of low frequencies there, I'm going to drop that down a little bit, add another bit of a high pass filter. And then, yeah, that's it for EQing. And the last thing I do for everything as far as the mix goes is I add soothe to everything. It might sound crazy, but for this kind of music, a lot of the time it's very lo-fi sounding. So using soothe isn't super scary because even if it does get rid of some of the good frequencies or whatever, at the end of the day, like a lot of Molchat Doma songs sound like it's literally played out of a tape machine. So yeah, using soothe is just a really easy way to get the job done. You just put it on instead of sitting here with your EQs and doing all this stuff, looking for bad frequencies, dropping them down. You don't have to do that because soothe does all of that stuff for you, which is like such a time saver. And in my opinion, if something saves you time, you're going to end up making more money. So I just use soothe on everything, to be honest. I don't make a lot of like super pop sounding music anyways. A lot of the stuff that I make is very kind of lo-fi. So yeah, if you're making this kind of stuff and you're not worried about all the perfect frequencies and clean sound, then soothe is an awesome option to just throw on everything, and it saves you hours and hours of time. So that's it for the mix. Now we're just gonna add a couple things to the master. The first thing I'm gonna do is open Ozone 11. This has truly changed my life in so many more ways than one. It's truly just night and day. It's awesome because it has like this AI kind of thing in it. So you click on this button, play the beat, and it detects the sound. You can hear the difference right away. So it sounds weird, but I always use this EDM setting. They have all these different like preset settings. For some reason, I always like the sound of the EDM. Sometimes I use pop, sometimes I use rock, but for the most part, I use the EDM setting for some reason. But you can mess with it and figure out what works best for you. And yeah, that's it for Ozone. And now I open up another EQ right before Ozone, and then I just drop it down a little bit of a high pass filter. Okay, so I don't know what's going on with Ozone now. I'm just gonna take that off for now. You guys heard it sounded good for a second, but yeah, that's really weird. That's never happened before. But the last thing that I will do is add Soothe to the master. Let's see if this one, okay. Yeah, Ozone does not want to work. I don't know why it's not working, but you guys got the point. Ozone's great. It usually doesn't do that. So yeah, that's about it for this Molchat Doma type beat. Hope I'm not missing anything. I think that's about everything. But if you have any questions or whatever, just drop a comment. I'll respond and help you guys out with any kind of advice that you need on guitar shopping, guitar pedal shopping, or whatever else it is that you guys need. And hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, then like, subscribe, all that stuff, and stay tuned for the next videos that we have. If you guys have any ideas on what kind of beats you guys want to learn how to make, drop a comment, let us know, and we'll try to make that happen. Or any kind of business advice or other video ideas that you have that you want to see, let us know. And yeah, till next time, peace.